Alec, welcome to the show. So good to have you with me once again.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. It's great to be chatting to you again.
Yeah, really cool to have you. I must say you're looking good. Okay,
Yeah, no, I'm feeling great,
that's good.
and my COVID experience was classed as moderate, so
Okay, all
it's
right.
not like I really went into it in a really healthy, and really strong and fit.
Yeah,
But it did take me out a bit at the knees, and the challenge now is basically getting back into shape. So, over the period that I had COVID, and coincidentally, sort of just before that as well, being on holiday, and uh, I've come unstuck a little bit with regards to weight. So I've put on about 8 kilos in the last 6 weeks, which is not ideal at all.
okay, so it's not a healthy weight that you want.
No, no, no. So it just shows you how quickly things can slide when you do uh, have a curveball that gets thrown at you. So the
Right,
combination of eating a lot more than I normally do, and exercising a lot less
yeah,
than I normally do, the combination of the two has had quite a negative effect. So I've got a
right.
bit of a tube around the middle now.
And this is the thing when you're sick as well. The encouragement from doctors and peers and what have you is to eat,
Yeah,
fuel your body so that your
yeah.
body can recover and those type of things. But yeah, those extra kgs is not exactly what you were looking for.
No, so now the question is, how do you get back into it?
Right.
And you're feeling great, you're feeling better again, but your body has taken shots.
Yeah.
So if you overdo it and you try and do too much too quickly, you can seriously damage and strain the heart. So um, the the challenge that I'm faced with now is, what am I going to do about my nutrition and exercise to actually get back on track, and get back to where I was before the COVID curveball hit us,
Right.
and that's what we I'd like to discuss today, and I'm sure that it's relevant to so many people out there that have overcome the COVID and are now sitting in a similar position.
Definitely, definitely. And I think something that you've alluded to many times before on the show with Wilbert is maintaining a healthy lifestyle will help your immunity, it will help your immune system. We've been speaking about this over
Yes.
I mean, I don't even know how many weeks it's been. It's been many weeks we've been speaking about this. And that's just attributed to now the fact that when you did get COVID, you were much better off, as the doctors would say. You got it moderately. And I think that's accustomed because of your fitness, your healthy eating, your nutrition. All of that had to play a role in that whole process.
Yeah, and I mean, from my side, I haven't had the vaccine yet, and I've now hopefully built up my own natural antibodies and immunity through having um, had it and recovered from it. So yeah, that side of it is all good. But um, I found a really nice document that's been published by the Sport and Exercise Medicine Lifestyle Institute at the University of Pretoria,
Okay.
SEMLI.
Semly for short.
Yeah, they used to be called the High Performance Center.
Okay.
They've done a bit of a rebrand, but an excellent guideline and an excellent document to sort of help you have a look at it. So, as a disclaimer, um, I'm definitely not a medical doctor, and I'm definitely not qualified to sort of give blanket advice to people in general, especially over the air where you have no idea who's listening.
Right.
Um, but in essence, the a good starting point is to try and ascertain, how severely you were affected by COVID. And obviously, the more severely you were affected by it, the more careful you need to be, and the longer you need to take at getting back into shape, and into your training. So from my side, the opportunity of um, training at a much lower heart rate and intensity, and duration, um, means that I can actually go even more radical with regards to my nutrition. So what I'm planning on doing is going back to eating only one meal a day,
Okay.
and that will hopefully help me get back on schedule, because I'm obviously ahead of schedule on eating.
So
So
fasting is your sort of
yes,
first step approach.
yes,
Aid in losing those couple of kgs you mentioned.
yeah. So I'm already eating a healthy diet. So we eat whole foods, eat a lot of protein, um, uh, down on the refined carbohydrates, no sugars, no fizzy drinks, no. So all of that is already in place. But even with eating healthy, overeating still, you accumulate, your body is programmed to accumulate that as stored energy, and that is basically, if you are not utilizing what you are getting in your liver, the excess gets stored as fat.
Right.
So yeah, hence the 8 kilos that are have made their reappearance.
Yeah, as what your body is deeming as stored energy, but you would like to,
Yeah,
not
so
if you're not utilizing it, you'd like it to leave.
yeah, so that's the idea now. So
Yeah.
because my training load is going to be less, I can even go more radical, if I can put it that way, on the amount of nutrition that I actually need to
Mm.
sustain that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, for the next week or two, um, stick with only eating one meal a day, and my main meal will be at lunchtime. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how quickly I can lose the weight again. Um, excuse me. And then on the exercise side, um, I immediately started with walking, and I'm now already back to walking sort of for an hour, with a 10 kilo weight vest. But I'm very careful to make sure that my heart rate doesn't exceed 120 beats a minute, which is the 60% of my maximum heart rate
Mm.
that's been calculated. So on this document from the the guys at Tix, they give you a calculator where you can actually put in your age, the desired heart rate, your resting heart rate, and it will calculate for you and tell you what heart rate you shouldn't exceed. And then they
Yeah.
give you a 5 week program where you progressively go from 60% to 70% to 80%, and then finally there's no restriction. But
Mm.
I'll just go through a couple of the important symptom checks that
Right.
you need to go through before you actually start training.
Yeah, I also want to just say as well, as much as this is Alec sharing his story, basically, you got COVID and how you're recovering and your fitness side of things, it's also an example for people listening right now who's also in that place where they're still not feeling lacquer. They're over COVID, they've had now 4 or 5 weeks out of having the symptoms and what have you, but they're still feeling like their body is drained, their body's sore, and those type of things. So it's about also doing the simple things, like even if it's starting with the fasting and walking. Those are two things that are quite easy to do. But I
Yes.
think a crucial thing that you mentioned is monitoring your heart rate, to not push your body too much that the next 3 4 days after that you feel worse, and then
Yeah.
you're not going to do anything then after that. that's
Yeah.
that's the
So
main
my
thing.
my resting heart rate while I had COVID jumped by about 25 beats a minute on average. So that's quite a significant jump, and that shows you how hard your body is actually working to fight against the virus.
Yeah.
So the checklists that you should look out for before you even think about getting back into training is you obviously shouldn't have a fever or chills, a severe cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, a racing heartbeat, the a higher, much higher resting heart rate than normal. So you need to get your resting heart rate down um, before you start training. And then if you're excessively fatigued or tired, or the general body aches and pains that come with it, and dizziness and balance. So if you've got those symptoms, then you shouldn't be even thinking about starting a training program. Um, so, from my side, none of those symptoms. So within sort of the 10 to 14-day period that I had COVID, immediately thereafter, I got back into training to try and shorten the period that I am not training,
Right.
so that you don't lose the gains. So,
Yeah.
if you don't train for a week, it's not serious. After 2 weeks of no training at all, and especially with age, it becomes harder and harder to get back into it. So I'm trying to avoid that.
Yeah. You also want
Yeah.
to fatigue your body as you're getting into it, like you're saying. You got to know your limits, and you also need to know your own symptoms. The
Yes.
doctor can say X, Y, and Z, but if you don't actually feel that way, then, you got
Yeah,
to
and
know where you're at.
we've said it many times before. It's a very personal journey. So
Yeah.
in my case, I was super fit and strong and healthy beforehand,
Right.
and I haven't been sick for years. So from that's the base that I was coming off when I got COVID, which is a great position to be in. And it means that my journey to recovery should be a lot simpler and quicker than for people that weren't in that condition. So
Yeah.
what I'm doing is relevant to me, and I'm hoping that it will work, and we'll find out over the next couple of weeks whether I make the progress that I'm expecting. Um, but you need to you trying to improve and get back to where you were prior to having the virus,
Yeah.
and only you know where you were at prior to that.
Yeah.
So the other symptoms, when you do start training, you need to watch out for being short on breath, chest pain, any abnormally high heart rate, or again dizziness, and being excessively fatigued. And then also, when you used to training, your body you feel the adaptation of the training. And if you're not feeling like you're improving, then that is also a warning sign that you're doing too much too soon.
Right. Yeah. A good indication. I mean, after all, your body does let you know that, if you're pushing it too far, you're pushing it just enough, because ultimately you want to get fitter. So it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I think we just need to pay attention to how far is too far, that you're sort of damaging your body, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all faced with curveballs.
Yeah.
So regardless of what it is, whether it's getting a virus or an injury, um, so you need to be able to adapt to that.
Yeah.
So I can't. I have to take a couple of steps back, and I have to start gradually improving. I can't now just jump back into where I was prior, and expect not to do permanent damage to
Mm.
my heart. So depending on where you're at, that is, you can either push it more or you shouldn't at all.
Yeah.
So there's doctors that are recommending that you don't do anything for 6 weeks after COVID before you start training again. Uh, to me, that might be good advice and general advice for an unfit and an unhealthy population. But if you are strong, fit, and healthy, then obviously the sooner you can get back to training, the better.
The better, yeah.
But you've really just got to be very careful not to overcook it.
Yeah, and I think ultimately this also comes down to just fitness in itself, Alec, as well. I guess if you're starting from a place of not running, not doing walking, what so have you, no sort of fitness at all, you have to have the same approach. You need to take things easy. You need to know where your body's at the same time knowing when you should push those limits so that you can get fitter, that
Yeah.
you're not just operating in this comfortable space, but then also understanding that you can attain that fitness. You know, it's not something that
Yeah.
only Alec or Dylan can do. You know, it's attainable for everybody.
Yes. So I think there's the one side of it is um, to try and improve your health span. And there we've been speaking at length over months now about what you need to do with nutrition and exercise to actually get yourself into a healthy space. So
Right.
just there, the easiest measure is your height to waist ratio. So you measure the circumference of your waist and it needs to be less than half of your height. If that is the case, then you're in a relatively good space
Okay.
for starters.
Yeah.
And then from a training point of view, you need to be doing both cardio and resistance, in other words, weight training. And the studies are saying that at least 80% of the general population are not doing anywhere near the minimum required cardio or resistance training to have a positive impact on their health and general wellness. So you should be doing at least 2 or 3 half an hour weight training sessions, resistance training sessions a week, and even more than that of cardio. So 3-4 times a week, minimum half an hour. So if you're not doing that, then you are not having a positive effect on your health span and on your general wellness. But if you do add the two together, it's not a big ask, because we're asking people to train for around about 3 to 4 hours a week. So to put that in perspective, I'm now back already at training 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. So that's me, and that's because I enjoy it, and that's to try and help me achieve my goals and objectives. So it's personalized, but I can fit it in within a working day, before and after working hours. And it's important enough for me to actually make the time to do that.
Yeah, it comes down to priorities as well, I guess. If you want to be fit and you want to be healthy, and when we speak about your health span, like we've said over the bunch of episodes we've done, which by the way is available on YouTube on Impact Online on our channel over there. You can go and look at all the past episodes with Alec Avierinos. Also looking at the website now, there's a bunch of free courses that attribute to the notes for those different videos as well. We also have these ones from today's show up on the website shortly as well. almightywarrior.me is Alec's website, and there's a bunch of different content on there on having ultimately a good life when it comes to fasting, when it comes to exercising, spiritual journey, all the different things that attribute to a healthy lifestyle. You can go and look at that on Alec's website, almightywarrior.me. Alec, we've got a few more minutes left as we round off today's show.
Yeah,
and on today's topic.
I'm hoping to get permission to share this document from the University of Pretoria, from SEMLI, and we'll be able to put a link to that to help people. And that is specifically looking at taking you on a 5 to 6 week journey,
Right.
from the end of the symptoms to getting back to a similar level of fitness that you were in prior to actually succumbing to the virus. So the objective and the caution from my side is really to take it easy and to really monitor your heart rate. So I started with really simple walking, then walking with a weight vest. Then I added back the weight training, but longer rest periods, less weight, less severity, and really just monitor your heart rate
Yeah.
to make sure that you are sticking initially below the 60% mark. And then as you improve, you can then put more into it. And yeah, let's see how quickly we can lose the weight and get back into good shape again.
Yeah, I think I'm personally looking forward to hearing your journey as you lose the kilograms and stuff. It's almost like those, I've heard stories of the trainers, the personal trainers that sympathize with their clients, where they go and add a bunch of kgs onto their weight, and then they sort of lose weight with the people they're training. So it's like the proof is in the pudding, if you will.
Yeah, and you preferably you don't want to yo-yo up and down,
Yeah.
and you want to sustain the weight loss.
Right.
But yeah, the reality in my case is that I've put on a whole bunch of kilos,
Yeah.
and I've got a lot more unfit, and now it's a case of getting back into it again.
Yeah, yeah, and like we've said before, like you've said before as well, life is a journey. It's a
Yeah,
marathon, right?
yeah.
So there's no use throwing everything into one quick sprint and then you reach the goal and you're like, okay, cool, I'm set for life. Now I don't have to do anything again.
Yeah, you know what your goals are,
Yeah,
and you know that you've now taken a knock. Now it's about how do you respond to that,
yeah,
and that's where your relationship with the Lord, learning to love and nurture and care for yourself,
right.
and getting back on track is so important. And the sooner you do that, the better, and uh, the more effort you can put into it, the better.
Mm.
And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to add I've put myself out there now to say that I've got these extra kilos to lose. Now
Right.
let's see how it goes.
Yeah, well, we've got a sea full of people that are listening right now that are probably hearing you and thinking, okay, right, we'll keep Alec accountable. Fortunately, not everyone has your number, so they can't be calling you up wondering what you're up to.
Yeah.
But the thing that I can say, and people watching on Facebook Live as well, is that you are a gentleman that takes fitness very seriously. That's why we're privileged to have you here on 103 FM on a weekly basis, talking about almost a lifelong journey you've had from young, all the different competitions you've been involved in, the different exercises you've tried and tested. And it's just so cool to hear all that information and wisdom ultimately as well. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thanks. It's a pleasure, Dylan. It's
Yeah,
been great.
really appreciate